Hi, welcome to the Designery. Welcome to the Catch Up with Designery. So, Catch Up with Designery, it's a new show that we're starting here at Designery, where we discuss, not just discuss, basically, we chat about latest developments, we design, with tools, products, trends. Why? Because we know that social media, news platforms, newsletter can be overwhelming, right? So, we want to distill and extract the things you really need to know regarding product to help you stay informed and up to date. So it's going to be happening every Wednesday for 30 minutes by 8 p.m. West African time. So for today, I have with me, of course, as you've always known or seen, Raphael, who's my co-host. And today we have a special guest, random guest, Olanrewaju. We are all product designers and we have some things to share with you today. So Raphael, get the ball rolling.
Hi guys, pleasure to be here once again. So today we're doing something new, and it's going to be more very conversational, more relaxed than our usual fireside chats with our guests. Um, so I'm going to be talking about things that we noticed this week. For me, let's just get the ball rolling and see something that I noticed this week that caught my eye in design was on Twitter. And you know how interesting design Twitter can be. Something that caught my eye was an update from Cash App. Jack Dorsey posted uh, a new update on Cash App, which allows people to basically pull money together, so your friends can pull money together. And he drops these screenshots, and the design was very peculiar to me. So there's this thing I've always noticed. Anyways, let me not get to the part that I want to. First of all, let me share the screen and get insights from my fellow designers here. Let me know what you guys think about the design first of all. Uh, I'm about to say something. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen, the screen of death, so how they call it. Yeah, okay. So I see the design now. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the post, right? And he basically this is the design. Before I say anything, before I say anything, what do you guys think about this design? And please be honest. This page in particular.
Um, for me, it's contrast issue. First of all, that's the first thing I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Contrast. Any other thing?
Let me see. I'm trying to I'm seeing three buttons basically. One says pull, one says request, one says pay.
Uh-huh.
Right. I don't know, but so we have three buttons here, basically two secondary button, one primary button. I don't really know have the full context here, but having up to like three buttons in a page and you expect the user to take action when you have like two of same priority, pull and request, maybe a lot of what's the word for it? A cognitive load for the user to know which to click. But I think that basically depends on the action or the goal basically. So what I would just say here, probably maybe instead of having three buttons here, we have three hierarchies basically. We have primary, secondary, and a tertiary button. If we were to prioritize the three buttons, one definitely should be primary, which happens to be pay. Then maybe one of pull or request should be secondary. Then the one that's lower in priority should be tertiary. But I don't know, depends on what the goal of the product is. And I don't have so much information, but that's what I have to share. And in addition to what Larry said already, which is contrast, right? You're using a very dark, not very dark, but like the green and the black text, like that's and what's it called now? Accessibility issues for color, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because Cash App is used by you know a lot of users, right? So which means that I would like to assume that designers did very good research before coming up with this design. So they must have tested this. I would assume they must have tested this. So I'm sure that it was a pass at some point. But why I find this interesting is because I feel like there's a lot of rules being broken here. When you're starting up in design, you're learning all the principles, contrast, hierarchy, cognitive load, because a bunch of these rules are broken. Yeah, in my opinion, I might be wrong, but like this is that's what I'm noticing. But it comes to show that as a designer, when you are growing, you learn all these rules, but as you're getting to certain
Mm-hmm.
level, you learn these rules to break them, right? Now, I would very much like to have a conversation or learn like what the thought was to arrive at this, right? Because I feel like, but there's a question, there's something I want to say, and it might sound wrong. The thing is, if this was not Cash App, because Cash App is a huge app. If this was not Cash App,
Yeah.
would we not be trolling this? It's not trolling, but like coming after the design, they're like, why is this design like this? Why is this not this? Why is this not that? And you're just, but because, oh, you know what, these guys are this Cash App, they have like thousands of users, if not hundreds of thousands. There must be a reason
Yeah.
why it came to this. So I just think it's really interesting. You come up learning these rules, right? And then you break them. There's another thing. When we see big brands break these rules a lot of time, right? And then it's like, oh, they're big, so I mean, they must have a reason. What if they don't have a reason?
You
How
don't
do
know, you don't know. So I think just trying to wrap up, basically, one of my principles is that before you copy any feature, before I copy a feature, like so if I'm doing competitive analysis and I see something from a competitor or I see something from a product, right? I don't just rush to adopt it into what I'm working on. First of all, I need to understand what is it may be exactly the same feature we need in our product, but like what exactly is the feature doing for them? What are we looking to do? Will it do the same for us? And one of the things is that you may not know, the feature may not really be having the kind of return on investment or the engagement they are actually looking for. So in-house, they may be planning to even take down that feature, but you may not know, and you just copy. I had that experience with WhatsApp where I saw a couple of interactions on WhatsApp, but like they look nice, and after a while, I realized they were just experimenting. So what I would just say is, yeah, companies, big companies do stuff, but my advice to add to this and to wrap this up is before I would advise anybody to copy something you see from a company or a competitor, actually analyze to understand why they have that feature, whether it's working for them and if it's going to work for you. Right. So yeah, so I think that's my contribution to just wrap up that, Raphael. So thank you for bringing that up. I think for me, a number of things I noticed this week. So I think just to add, quite similarly when it comes to design, I saw a redesign today of on LinkedIn where somebody was trying to design, or the guy actually did a redesign of Rent Money mobile app, right? And it was very interesting because personally I have had to study the Rent Money mobile app UI, right? So I think sometime last year or two ago, I was working on a fintech app, and I had to study a couple of them. So Rare Money was quite interesting for me because I noticed their use of strong colors, their use of not strong, the vibrant colors, how they use it on their graphic, their branding, their website, and also how they were able to translate that onto their product. One of the product has also done something similar is Pocket App, right? So if you use Pocket App, you will notice that these guys did not go for the minimalist sheet. Not minimalist is not sheet, right? But basically, this guy did not go for like the minimalist trend.
Yeah.
They wanted something that would stand out, that would be unique, right? Because they know their target audience. So the idea behind minimalist design is that if you're getting a wide range of audience, you want to keep your design minimal so that users of different age range, demography can interact with your product. Or if you know the people you are targeting, and you know the kind of media, the kind of graphic they consume or they interact or they engage with, you can actually make your designs more vibrant, right? And probably just bend some rules when it comes to design because you know your target audience and you know that they will not have issues with that. So for the Rent Money design, I personally, yes, there are a couple of issues I saw on the website, not on the website, or on the mobile app that could have been done better. But basically, having to simplify to minimalize the Rent Money mobile app, for me, I don't know, but I honestly think the guy did not do a good job because the mobile app design is unique, it stands out, and it's a perfect for me, a good representation of the brand identity, right? So if you put the app side by side with other apps, you would know that yes, this is unique. and they would have done their test, like you said. I don't know how true, but probably if they keep maintaining that UI for years since they built the app, definitely it should be working. If it's not working, they would have adjusted the UI. But anyways, my call here is before Raphael and Larry, you jump in, right? So my call here is before you do a redesign, my recommendation personally, before you do a redesign for any mobile app, for any website, first of all, try to understand what and why did the company design it that way. If you see a website that seems to be broken or probably something is not working, do your heuristics. Your heuristics is not just, of course, do your evaluation from a designer perspective, but try to understand from the business perspective. One website that has really struck me is PayPal. If you look at PayPal's website, I don't know, I can't remember the last time I checked, but the last time I checked their website, it's very simple. It's not, it doesn't look like Stripe or like TransferWise. But PayPal is processing a lot of transactions and lots of payments, and the website is simple, really, right? So you could do a redesign and change things and move things here and there, but basically trying to understand why the company did what they did before you do a redesign is very important, because you may not really be necessary, really. So I know I've spoken so much here, but Raphael, Larry, if you have anything to add to this, just over to you, please.
Okay, let me quickly add something. Um, like you said earlier, the guy could have actually asked, like, why has Remony done what they did? But I think the guy is not even concerned with the user flow itself, how convenient is it for user. He's actually focused on the aesthetics, right? But he has forgotten
Or
that we have, in fact, let me say, in this part of the world, we are quite used to a particular kind of way. What is designed is neat, but it doesn't wow me, in the sense that these are the kind of things I expect from fintech app for what he has done. But for what Trend Money has done, it's not the kind of thing anybody will easily expect. And that's, like Rafa said, breaking the norm. And sometimes when you break the norm, you dish out quality products. Like, you dish out something that wants to make you, what's it called, your users to come back. Like, but
yeah,
when you want to redesign or want to give an update, like, there's this anxiety. Or, is it anxiety? Is that the right word? Like, they're anxious to see what next you want to do. I think it keeps your users at the edge of their seats. Not that they're expecting a new feature and they know what is likely to come. Take, for instance, one very popular bank we know that uses Orange. If there's an update, we know what is likely. Like, you can, as a designer, you can usually kind of say, okay, this is what, like, it's not far fetched from what the design pattern they have, so you are not surprised. So that's my take. The guy's design is fine, but no, it's not above the norm.
okay, all right. So I just checked the PayPal website, and guys, these guys are redesigned their website, right? So PayPal website is now looking really cool, right? But the last time I checked, it wasn't looking this good. So Raphael, do you have anything to add before we?
I remember seeing that people like I did Nigeria now. That's interesting. I mean, that's that's something for another day. I saw the post from the guy. I think it's interesting that there was a particular time that somebody, and I see this happening a lot on social media. Somebody, there's something that has been designed to look a certain way. I'm sure like there's a reason. There's definitely a reason because research has been done. This product is being used by thousands of people, right? And they're still making use of it. And then you see somebody, come, oh, like it shouldn't be like this. Is what I would, this should be it. I feel like yes, it's great to have your own opinions. It's good to like try out, the design and stuff. But I feel too often that we say, oh, this is what my take would be, and then do what has already been done before. Like it's not like it's like a totally refreshing look from what I'm seeing. It's not like it's a total anything new. I think it's really interesting that Rent Money did. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't looked at their app before or their website. I think it's really interesting. They went for a totally brutalist design. Like it's
Yeah,
actually more refreshing because almost all fintech apps put it in. Like if we're
Yeah,
being honest, and then
yeah,
the guys rendition of the app actually just brought it back to what almost every other design is.
exactly.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
So we don't even know Red Money's strategy. It could actually be part of that strategy breaking into the market to look unique. And if that's the case, they killed it here for me. Like their current design. it's very different. Like I'm looking at it like we have a fintech app that looks like that's designed this way. I think the only other this that I really, really respect in terms of UI is RiseVest. Oh my god. Have you seen their UI? Although it's been a minute since I checked it, but like yeah, I think it's really I think I still prefer the current design from Rent Money. I love that the guy's design isn't bad at all. It isn't bad. It's I mean it's things there's always going to be improvements no matter once you look at it. But yeah, I mean for my own take, I think the Rent Money design will feel better because it has that uniqueness. A lot of times we forget something, and I feel like this is something. Kitaji, I feel like this is something we should actually talk about some other time. People talk about minimalist design every time, and then you design and all you're doing is just taking away stuff, which
Yeah.
is cool in its own right. But the definition of minimalism is basically whenever you are removing something, you're also replacing. When you remove all the unnecessary things, you're also replacing it with something that represents creativity. So I think that's something that we always forget. We just think it's just removing stuff. But yeah,
All right.
that's my take.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, interesting though. But yeah, so I think another thing that we also talk about is the interesting experiences we've had this week. I think for me, there's one thing that that crossed my that happened to me. Not what happened to me is so. Anyways, I was working on a project, right? And I think this is a lot. This experience for me goes a lot to say about how you go about a project. A lot of times you're in a fast-paced environment or you're in a huge organization. You're working with different teams, and then sometimes you forget the fundamentals of actually producing good work. You know, More often than not, we have a lot of we might be in a team, and you have a lot of like stakeholders to present an idea to, right? And it's very important to get stakeholder buy-in. We forget that to get stakeholder buy-in, there's a couple of things are involved. A lot of things involved, but some of the most important things is making them feel like they are part of the process, right? And also having a lot of research to back up your, um, your solution that you're presenting to them. Um, so like there's this project I was working on, and for the past couple of sprints, it's been a headache. I promise you, it's been back and forth. Um, you go forward and then you hit the wall. There's a feedback you have to go back. Those kind of projects now. I'm sure you guys have experienced such a thing before. And so I think this last sprint, one thing I did that was really different. Well, it wasn't different. It's not like I didn't do research before or anything before starting the project. But you know how when a project has like extended so long and you can't seem to find that one solution that is going to stick for everybody, and then you have to go back to the drawing board. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and funny enough, instead of doing like really, I didn't even have to do like really thorough research. The research was good, but like I didn't have to go and do like really huge documentation, but really was more of show and tell. This is where I'm getting the solution from. This is why this solution is going to work. This is what other people are doing in terms of what is similar to ours, all right, and this is how it is working for them, and this is why it's going to work for us if we adopt such things. And then the stakeholders started coming around, and it was actually good. It was more or less like a breakthrough. It was actually really interesting. I felt really good. Funny enough, I felt really satisfied, and it just goes to show that there is always room for growth, no matter what. Like oftentimes you just keep on going and going. It just all work. But like, have you guys like? I don't know if you guys have had such an experience before where you're stuck and you have to go back to the drawing board.
Basically,
I
I think that sorry, Larry, that happens a lot. Not basically. I keep using the word. Basically, the kids that was using what was the English that guy was using? Apparently, yeah. Okay, but I think yeah, it happens a lot. If you freelance, you work in house, you always have to get feedback and go back to the drawing board. Managing stakeholders is very, very, very important. So, but I'll let Larry speak, I'm trying to
Okay.
respond to some people on some of our audience on social media. So Larry, you can just go on.
All right. I think that happens, especially if you work in an agency, right? Because now you've gotten a requirement document, so to say, and you interpret based on what you understand. That's what usually happens when it comes to requirement document, especially when not in-house, like it's coming from a client, and you've done based on what, and the feedback is coming, and especially if it's even now a new, let me say you are testing a new waters as far as product design is
Mhm.
concerned. You might be very good in fintech, and there's a new client that's totally different from what you've been used to, and you've done interpreted document based on what you I like the effort, like to the best of your own knowledge, right? And the
Mhm.
feedback now comes, and you're not familiar with that area. You get stuck at that point in time. I think it's not. But what I've learned over time with this kind of scenarios is when you are stuck, it opens up another part of you, like a deeper. Your thought process is changed. Like you always
Yeah,
think in one like a particular direction, but once you get stuck, it's just like someone that is boxed up. You need to find a way out. Your thought
yeah,
Yeah.
process begins to change. You reason more. You look for make
yeah,
research, and it just widens your horizon. And then
yeah,
before you know it, if there's any other project that is coming out, not even related, you have a what's it called? It becomes more easier for you. I think so.
yeah.
These roadblocks are, I think, sometimes they are more like a challenge that helps you scale the next module, basically.
And like
Okay.
you said, it felt like it was a light bulb moment, which was
Yeah.
So
really interesting. Like, and it
Raphael,
just good. Yeah.
Raphael, so sorry, I've been a bit distracted. But what is your lesson? What is the lesson you're communicating? What did you learn, and that you're giving out to our audience? That okay, if you're having go back and forth with your clients, with your stakeholders, and where you work, design, what is the lesson here? All right, so yeah, I missed it. So can you just yeah?
So a couple of things. First off, sometimes that project that you think, oh, it's gonna just one and done. You're gonna. This is the FRD, just like Larry said. This is the FRD. I've interpreted it the way it's supposed to be. You're gonna run into roadblocks, right? Um, Maybe even more often than not. I think what actually makes you a good product designer is actually scaling those things in a way that is actually sorry meeting those roadblocks and actually scaling them. I think they're inevitable, right? And your true skill shows when those challenges come, right? And never be too scared, never be scared to go back to the drawing board. Like never be scared to go back to the drawing board to see, okay, this isn't working, right? Because imagine you've been working on a project for like for months, and then you're just unable to scale past a certain stage, and you now have to go back. Or sometimes you just want to keep on forging for ahead. It's actually cool to take a pause and go back to the drawing board to know what the issue is, and you're able to scale. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you are following us, thanks for joining. This is going to be happening once again, saying this every Wednesday, live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn, wherever you're watching from. This is going to happen every weekend, every weekday, every week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. West Africa time, GMT +1. All right. So Rafael, thank you. Larry, thank you for that contribution. I think for me, one thing I learned this week, not really work related. So it's about products. So there's something called product simplicity test, right? What that means is that, so I don't know if you've heard of the word NUX. It means new user experience. So what that means is that, so the idea behind product simplicity test is this: to prove that your product is really easy for people to use, right? So it's a test you conduct to prove that your product is really simple and easy for your customers or target audience to use. So how do you conduct that test? The test is simple, right? So your product, get rid of every form of guidance, tooltip, or information that you have to use to prep your user before they use your product. So basically, if you want to gauge if your product is simple enough for people to use, do not give them a tutorial upfront. Do not do the onboarding. Just allow them to explore. So give them a task. There are no guidance whatsoever. You said?
you're just throwing them in deep end. That's interesting.
Exactly. So if you want to test if your product is simple and easy to use, right? So we keep saying our product is intuitive, it's easy to use. So the test for this is don't give them instruction, go here, click this. No, there's no onboarding, there's no tooltip guidance. If your users are able to complete the task or use your product without guidance, that is proof really that your product is really easy to use. So that's one thing I learned this week. So basically the lesson here is this, that in as much as you cannot design without guidance, without tooltips, without helping your users achieve their goal, but when I'm designing, one thing I've learned now is I will try to read those guidance. Like I will assume if this tooltip is not here, or if I don't do a tutorial, or if you don't have to like do micro onboarding to let people know how to use this new feature, this new functionality, would people be able to figure it out without guidance? So that is the first point of call for me. So if I'm working on a new feature, while I'm thinking that yes, I'm going to choose a micro onboarding or introduce a video tutorial to let them know how to work to use the new feature, my first thought is to design such that users do not even need the guidance for them to use that feature, right? Even though eventually we are going to have that, but that is the first approach. That way, it enables me to design such that people are able to use it and require minimal assistance. So that's a revelation for me, because most times when you're designing already, you are like, yes, we're designing this, but I'm going to put a micro onboarding tooltip here for them to discover. A lot of products do it and it's good, but for you to design a product that is simple, right? My lesson for this week is to conduct what we call a product simplicity test. Read off every form of guidance, read off every form of onboarding, and see how really easy it is for people or users to complete tasks with your product. So that's something I didn't really get to apply it at work, but something I'm going to explore more as I move forward. Yeah, but that's it for me. I don't know if you guys have anything to add. We are almost out of time, but any additions, Larry? Any addition, Raphael?
No, I'll pass.
Okay. I will have to read more on this because I mean, there's some products I don't know. I have to read more on this because I'm imagining that kind of test on certain products. If users don't, I would have to read more on this. This is what
Okay.
kind of
That's why I said I'll. That's why I said I'll pass.
real, too real, too real. Okay.
All right. So I think at this point we are just we intend to keep this very short, right? It's going to be happening every week. So if you hear of anything you want us to talk about, and also this is also an opportunity for us to interact with our audience. So if you have any feedback, if you have been following Designary feedback since we launched in April, kudos. Thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for liking, and also please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, but this is an opportunity for you to, if you have any questions for us, let us know in the comments, in our videos, let us know in the comments. If you are even follow us on the live stream, you can leave a comment and you want to speak. Of course, we'll bring you on board and we hear from you, right? So if there's anything you think we can do better with our podcasts and even with this weekly catch-up sessions, yes, we will do that. If there's anybody, any guest you are looking forward to have us having or hearing from in our podcast, do let us know. We're going to consider it and reach out to them to bring them to speak. And also we have a episode 5 of our Designary podcast is happening this Saturday. That's the 2nd of August, right? So if you have not registered on the platform wherever you're watching this, you definitely would have seen the link. So on LinkedIn, it's there. On our YouTube shorts, you find the link towards the end of the short. I think I'll put it in our bio, right? So I'll put it in our bio. So please register for the upcoming one. It's about mentorship, right? So we are bringing a very seasoned speaker, Jane Frances. She calls herself Lady F, and that's because she's very good when it comes to mentorship. So how do you know who is the right mentor? Yes, we need mentorship as designers. We need mentorship to scale our career. But how do you even know who to reach out to as a mentor? And even when you have a mentor, how do you manage the relationship? How do you make the most out of mentorship, right? So that's what this episode is going to be about. So if you're just starting your career, if you're at mid-level, even senior level growth, we are ever learning and we keep learning as we grow. So please do well to register. And of course, like I said, if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback for us, do let us know in the comments. I think that will be all for today. We have a lot of things to share with you, things to talk about, opinions. For me, I had stuff I want to talk about Webflow. I had something I wanted to say about Figma. I believe Raphael and Larry also had a number of things they would have loved to talk about, but we want to keep this very short so we don't bore you. All right, to see you same time next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. So we're going to schedule these live streams on our YouTube so you can just turn on notifications. And when we go live, you are updated or notified. So see you in the next one. Not the next one, really. See you on Saturday for our episode 5 mentorship
Don't forget to
session with
like,
Designary
share,
podcast.
follow. Yeah, those
So
are the things that.
Raphael, anything for our audience? Larry, anything for our audience before we call it a wrap for today?
Yeah, just don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, everything, the whole 9 yards. We have a lot in store for you guys. Thank you.
And also, before we go, we are working on something. I know we've dropped teasers on the internet, right? So we are looking to have live design sessions. It's still work in progress. We're going to let you know, but we're looking to bring designers who are going to design live. You are going to learn not just visuals, the process from the very beginning when they get a brief, how they strategize, how they break it down, a step-by-step process they follow to deliver results time and time again, right? So we are going to be taking you behind the scene. We're going to open the curtain for you to learn and pick the brains of designers, you not just the ones you admire, the ones expert designers. So it's not about being popular. It's a designer who knows their grind and who knows how to deliver results that brings value for business and also for customers. So that is something else what we have in store for you. But for now, this is what we have. Catch up with Designary every Wednesday, 8 p.m. YouTube and LinkedIn. Peace out. See you on Saturday.